Welcome back to episode number 9 of the Pariah podcast, which is now available on Apple Music, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, as
Turn
well
me
as
up.
YouTube Shorts,
Yeah.
Instagram Reels, and TikTok. We are worldwide. We are global. All the platforms for you to not listen to us on as of right now, but hopefully that will change in the coming weeks, days, months, whatever. Look, guys, I have a special feeling about this one because the audience doesn't know this, but for almost years before we started this podcast, when game weeks like this game week happened, we would all hop on Twitter Spaces and podcast to absolutely nobody, right?
We had like 2 or 3 people listening to us. Those are good days.
We would just do it for the sake of talking to each other, and that's what eventually birthed what this is. And it just feels so good because this is the first weekend, I think, where we naturally would have done one, regardless of whether or not Pariah podcast as it existed or not. So I'm like salivating to get right into it. And what better way to start than the fixture that ended today? Chelsea versus Spurs, a classic London derby. I think this one in recent years has gotten just as important as the North London derby. And what a game it was. I'm going to go on a limb here and say best game of this season for sure. Probably one of the best games I've seen ever in the Premier League.
I wish we could just leave it at the result. If we could just stop right there, say 4-1 and not get into what we had to watch. Because best game, that's a crazy shout.
Look, not technical prowess, but in terms I'm speaking as a neutral, right?
Sure.
In terms of sheer entertainment, bro. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. And like, let's give a quick recap, right? As best as we can. And it's amazing because there are so many things that happen. Spurs opened the scoring very quickly, and it almost looked too easy. And then they doubled it, but it was ruled offside because of like a very, very hairline offside call, which was the correct call, right? And then I believe right after that is when the Udogie yellow card incident happened.
Yeah.
We'll talk about refs later, but he got away with the yellow. Potential red for sure. And then you have that crazy sequence where Caicedo has the ball in the back of the net, but it gets called back due to offside, which like correct, but like very...
They barely looked at that too.
Yeah.
They barely looked at that.
Weird offside call. And then you go
right into that Romero potential red card.
Yeah.
Or red card, actually.
Confirmed red card.
Yeah.
And then after that, you have like, forget the game at hand. You have Spurs end of the year campaign kind of ruined with Madison and Van de Ven going down to injuries. Van de Ven's looked a lot more serious.
How bad are their injuries looking?
So Van de Ven, look, I'm not a doctor. You're the doctor here. But it didn't look like a hamstring pull. It looked like a tear because he could not walk after. Usually, like when Jesus pulled his hammy, Martinelli pulled his hammy, they like are able to kind of like limp off. This guy could not move his leg and was practically crying. So probably like a little over a month for him.
He couldn't handle the Nico Jackson test, apparently.
Now we'll definitely get into that. And then it felt like purgatory for Chelsea fans. Like, you had the game in front of you. Spurs are playing that crazy, crazy high line. And for some reason, not for some reason, I'll tell you exactly why. Your players are mistiming runs. The passers are mistiming passes. You kept getting called offside, or when you did get through, your players weren't finishing, weren't squaring the ball. And Chelsea could not score for the longest until, of all people, Nicholas Jackson broke the deadlock, put you ahead, and then Spurs scored again, got it disallowed, and then Spurs had 2 more pretty good chances to score, and then Nicholas Jackson goes the other way, bags 2 more, hat trick. Go ahead, Forrest, take it away.
The crowd like he freaking scored the hat trick of his lifetime.
Dude, I don't even want to. Where do I start, dude? Jackson,
man. Start with Nicholas Jackson. I feel like that's a guy that we need to freaking have a conversation about.
Listen. I think
Nico Jackson Island has maybe 6 or 7 people left. Ifty has long left Nico Jackson Island. I'm still there.
I spawned
today we got well fed, dude. It was the sort of chaos ball we've kind of seen from like Darwin Nunez, but on 10 times the scale. And I don't know, dude. That first half, and funny enough, in that first half, before even like the 10 men, 9 men happened, he actually had a very good chance. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
Sterling like squared it to him. He cuts, he does a good move, and then he gets saved.
Yep.
But that game itself was hilarious. Hilarious. And I don't know, what do you guys think about Nico Jackson?
Look, I think he's barely a footballer, man. I remember we were talking about Chelsea a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about how Conor
Mm,
Gallagher should be an inspiration to the youth because Brody just runs, has zero technical floor. But Nicholas Jackson is somehow worse. And it's so concerning to me because in preseason, he looked like a revelation. And today I look at him and I wonder, where did they pick up this dude from a gym who was doing cardio and said, hey, you have to kick ball for 90 minutes? It's actually ridiculous. Like, someone I saw a funny joke on Twitter. They were like, "Hey man, whatever you do, do not give Jackson 14 chances to score. He'll punish you." That's exactly the kind of game it was, dude. How do you score a hat trick and you're nowhere near the conversation for man of the match? Like nowhere near it, right? Like it was,
dude, yeah, it was tough for him, honestly. On a
but it
yeah,
shouldn't have
it's
been. I understand. Look, sometimes we give strikers a very hard time, and
mm,
it'll be like high pressure games where they get maybe one or two chances, and because not all of us play the game, we sometimes make light of chances that are difficult. You know, sometimes the ball comes in with pace, et cetera, et cetera. This guy got every possible chance. Like if you were to make a textbook out of every chance a striker could get, he got squared the ball. He got multiple through balls, a long ball, a cross, every possible scenario with his left foot, right foot, head. He couldn't make it count, bro. And in the end, he walked
are we
away with.
not being harsh on him because he did score 3 goals?
I agree with you. He scored three
Bro,
goals, but
those
this
were
is
There
key goals. And the amount
there
of key goals he missed is actually absurd. Like he should have finished at
there are
least.
other players on the field that deserve more criticism, i.e.
I
Raheem Sterling, Mikhailo Mudryk. I think Nicholas Jackson bricking a lot of chances has taken away the spotlight from those other two, from a lot of players on Chelsea's side. May I let you know that?
No, I 100% agree. And look, Mikhailo Mudryk, I gave up on a long time ago. I know I texted
Mm,
today saying, "Hey, I'm watching," but look, he's a
that was a
concept.
rough cameo. That
He's
was a
not
rough
there yet.
cameo.
Sterling is a proven footballer. He has
Mm.
won major titles with Man City. He's supposed. We talked about before how Chelsea lacks senior players. He's supposed to be one of your guys that push you, right? This guy cannot stay on side to save his life. And at first, I thought it was a problem with the midfield not passing on time. But no, he's just casually offside most of the time. And when it is time to run, he's just so out of rhythm with his
Can I throw
midfield.
something out there? Can I throw something out there?
Go for it.
Is the circumstances of the game something we should say, okay, they're playing against 9 men who are, for some reason, sure, whatever reason, they're playing a high line.
Uh-huh.
And now you have this group of inexperienced 21, 22-year olds basically saying they know they have to score. Like everything, it's in their minds like, okay, we have to score. So every possession is a ball over the top or a ball between the lines. And it's like, it essentially took Chelsea like 20 to 30 minutes to sort out this. Okay, wow, Spurs are playing a high line. We need to actually time our runs, go this way, do this, do that. Once it worked, we scored 3 goals. I mean, like, I think it's a little like the game itself, it just felt so like weird. Like I'd never seen anything like that before, to be like anyone had a terrible performance, a great performance. But I agree with you. The offsides, it was bad. Like we had a 20-minute stretch where every pass was offsides or too short, or Vicario sweeper keeper. Like it was ridiculous.
I
And it
think
wasn't. Go ahead.
Chelsea's point of view, like I feel like it really showed like that you guys are not a lethal team. Okay, but I can vouch for the Spurs side. I think the goalkeeper for Spurs had
Mm.
a splendid game. Like the stops he's making, the sweeping he was doing was like top notch. But like that same level, I feel like if you give those same opportunities to Liverpool or Arsenal or City, they're smashing those goals in.
That hat trick is such flattery to Nicholas Jackson, but so cruel to Vicario. I want to take a moment. I know we're going to hate on Spurs a lot today. If there's one guy who is the truth on that team, it's Vicario. He single-handedly saved a double-digit score line. Like
Yeah.
if I'm just gonna throw us under the bus, right? Like if any one of our goalkeepers was in goal today, I wouldn't even blame them if they held 9. Like, it was that type of game, right? And I'm going to go as far as to say he's in the conversation for best keeper in the league in terms of keeping, right? We're not going to talk about distribution. When it comes to keeping the ball out of the net, I struggle to find anyone as good as him, bar Allison, maybe.
Yeah, right now I think he's like 1A or 1B. He's like up there for this season alone.
Dude,
I know it's kind of crazy to say.
And I kind of see how maybe that means we're being too harsh on Nicholas Jackson. But I get your point about, hey, like, these are kids and this is a high pressure scenario. They're playing a high line. But then I pose to you the opposite scenario. What if they played deep? I guarantee you wouldn't have broken them down. You guys,
I agree with that too.
So you had the exactly, if Raheem Sterling and Nicholas Jackson went to sleep the night before and they had dreams about what could happen, it would be playing 9 men Tottenham who are playing an offside trap at the halfway line. That is
why did Ange do that?
Dude, I have zero clue. Like,
it's actually funny because there's like two sides to this on social media. There's like the people saying, wow, Ange, he's so brave, you know, as you mentioned earlier, he's falling.
They need to wipe their mouth, bro. They need to get off their knees and wipe their mouth, bro.
And then the other side is like, wait, why are we hyping up this guy who decided to keep a high line with 9 men, 10 men, and just essentially allow the same play to happen for 30 minutes, that in behind cross.
Just like work their defense like to the bones. Like they were huffing, man. Like,
dog, you had Højbjerg and Dyer out there running suicides. That's elder abuse, bro. You can't be doing that. Like,
they did great against Sterling. Honestly, Højbjerg was catching up to Sterling like it was
no, Højbjerg was
just imagine if they were using that energy in a low block. It would have been raps.
They would easily have kept you guys out. But also another one last thing to on the Nicholas Jackson. I feel like he's a product of like modern day scouting, because he got all that like XG and the runnings and then this body structure type and all that, but he doesn't have dog in him like the old strikers do. He just doesn't have any finishing capabilities, and I just feel like in modern day football, you get more of these Nunez's and this Jackson, and I don't have like that lead.
I wanna say something to Ifty's old point about like if they played a deep block. And I think what would have just happened then, it probably would have been less controversial because Jackson probably would have got 2 chances, Bricks one he fluffs, and then we're talking about him less and we're talking about the team as a whole, like, oh, Chelsea couldn't break them down. This specific 9 men high line highlighted all the problems we've talked about Chelsea every week, how they can't finish, how they can't do this. And we're doing that after they scored 3 goals. Like, it's actually insane, but I'm right there on that side. Like, you know, these guys are just not there. That is not the level. And it's not like even, it doesn't feel like potential. Like, oh, these goals are going to start landing. Yeah. It doesn't feel like that. The only solace I see is Nkunku comes back and he looks like a footballer. And even then, that's not guaranteed.
Dude, Jesus could come back and nothing would change. Like, it's crazy what's happening. And can I also give you some flowers, by the way? 2 weeks ago, I guaranteed that Spurs would lose at some point this season. And you predicted that it would happen against Chelsea, and you predicted a scoreline of 2-1, which honestly probably was very likely until like Spurs absolutely capitulated at the end. So I want to give you credit for that. But more than that, last week I asked about this game whether or not Ange would stick to his principles, and we saw that tested to the absolute max with him going down to 9 men and still sticking to his principles. So I want to give you credit for that too, because you said he would. But I know we are kind of beating this to death, but I just want to further emphasize, right? If you're going to stick to your principles about the no low block thing, fine, but it's Chelsea. Also, on the other side, if there's any side where you could have lucked out in playing that high line, it would have been Chelsea. So I think this is a major, major thing for Ange to rethink, in being like, hey, I have a principle, but I don't think it's going to be the only time this season where Spurs are down to 10 men because of just how their players play, namely Romero, Højbjerg. Like, they're very aggressive, right? I think it's time for him to rethink things like that.
For what was I going to mention? If that game stayed 11v11, just off what I saw in the first 15 30 minutes, we were going to lose. I was very confident we were going to lose. They were passing through us with ease. We looked super slow, lazy, like just not getting the second balls, and they looked on it. So yes, I agree with the decisions for those guys to get sent off, but like it did save us. So I'll take the credit for saying we're gonna win, but
Hey,
that could have been
Faris,
ugly.
I guess we'll never know, right? Like
I guess we'll never know,
I guess
dude.
we'll never know, bro.
3 points is 3 points.
3 points
Modric,
is
Modric's decision making, because the amount of chances this guy had
Yeah.
and the choices he made were actually absurd. I don't know what this guy's thinking. I don't know if he's getting the coaching he deserves. I don't know what
I figured it out today, bro.
what?
You have a team full of dudes that grew up playing FIFA, and like even I see it sometimes. Look, I'm gonna say Cole Palmer is probably the best player in your team, but he exemplifies things like this too randomly.
Best
Like
forward for sure, yeah.
they always just do random like fake shots. They do random cutbacks. Like they play literal FIFA ball. And I know these guys aren't going to get a lot of criticism because they are your saving grace at the moment. But I do kind of want to get on Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. That first half for Moises Caicedo, bar the goal he scored, was one of the worst midfield performances I've seen this season. Like
No.
this guy has the worst technical ability in a midfielder in
One
that
of the
team.
worst you've seen. I can't agree to that
In your
at all,
midfield,
man.
in your midfield for sure. Like I thought Gallagher was the worst. This guy couldn't bring a ball down from the air. He just let it bounce. You
I
lost
thought he was
possession.
fine. I thought he was fine.
And when he's out of possession, he look, he has so much pace and power. I'm not gonna disagree on that. But how he uses it is so inefficient. He's out here like trying to crowd around every single direction the ball is played. There's no like anticipation in his game. He's just chasing the ball. Like
I'm gonna disagree with you there. I thought he was fine. I thought
I
Enzo
know,
probably
and
deserved
you're
more
not.
criticism today.
Look, Enzo got stripped of the ball a couple times in bad places, but when it came to a midfielder, like progressing the ball, being in the right place to receive a pass, winning the ball back, Enzo, I think, outplayed Caicedo in that respect. And I know you're not alone in disagreeing with me because all over Twitter, all I'm seeing is praise for Caicedo, and I think that disallowed goal, even though it was disallowed, skews people's opinion a little bit. But if I, as a spectator, knew that you guys paid what you paid for him and that he's the most expensive midfielder of all time, I'm not seeing that on the pitch. Like you could get an academy kid out of Cobham and he'd put out the same performance.
I wouldn't say that's the best way to view performance. Just like every performance, is he living up to that price tag? I don't think he ever will. I don't know if anyone's doing
Look,
that really.
I agree. When we're past three figures or close to three figures, nothing will ever be worth it. But you expect a certain level. You expect it. Yeah, Declan Rice is probably the closest you could get, right? But like, sure, you can make the argument that no one can ever justify 100 million price tag. But what I'll say is, in a big game like a game against Spurs, if you're paying that much for a player, you at least expect him to be the one you could pass to and feel a level of comfort. At no point in that game did I feel that with him.
I just think I just have a differing opinion. I thought Caicedo was fine. I think we didn't really rely on him to be a controller, quote unquote. I thought he broke up play a lot. I felt like he was just everywhere. If he wasn't winning the ball, sure, but he was definitely pressuring them. And I think that first 15 minutes, it was bad from everyone. And I know that's like kind of a cop out, but sure, I'll give you Caicedo. I don't think he was good opening, but rest of the game, I thought he was fine. Even if it's against 9 men, sure. I don't think that was the worst performance in our midfield. No, definitely not.
Who do you think was the worst then? I'm curious. Enzo?
Just today, I don't know if I'm.
Can I say something crazy? I think out of your midfield, the best player today was Gallagher. He did anytime the ball came to him, he had the right decision and he executed. Whereas I can't say the same for the other two.
Dude, here's the thing. The game itself became so different, like 30, 40 minutes in with the red card. Like 30 minutes in, now we're just dominating the ball and spamming the same shot. There was no way to gauge who was playing
true.
well.
No, I agree. This is a one-off game and it's naive to base.
I'm with you that it wasn't like stellar midfield performances, but I disagree that it was the worst performance. Like I didn't see much that stood out to say like, wow, he's a been bad midfielder. Nah.
Fair enough. What'd you make of Colwell getting subbed?
I think that was needed. His head was hot after that one instance where like, he kind of like butted heads with that I think it was Matar Sarr.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that was just necessary. It felt like he was getting riled up and something could happen. At that moment, the way the ref was just like slowing everything down, looking at everything again. Even Reece James went up for a header. I think they looked at that for violent conduct for his elbow. Yeah,
And
it
they
was
looked
getting
at everything.
scary.
They looked
Yeah.
at, and I think that's a great segue to talk about the refereeing impact in this game.
Yeah.
What was
There
there?
was
Like, I think you mentioned like 9 or so VAR stoppages. I think the goal to put you up 2-1, for some reason, VAR took the time to spend like a minute and a half checking that for offside. And that to me shows, first of all, look, I've always been on the stance that, hey, if you need to take your time to get something right, go for it. But it
mm,
shows that these guys are on edge and trying to make sure everything they do is right. And to me, that's a step in the right direction, because the way I see things, as long as the process exists, as long as you're getting the right result, you can always improve efficiency. What you can't improve is just chaos where you don't know when to check, what to check. You're looking at the thing and making the wrong decision. Those kinds
Yeah.
of things are harder to fix to me.
No, and the commentators every time they do a VAR check, they're like harping on the fact that it's taking so much time. Bro,
right.
what are you doing? Why can't you spend an extra minute looking at this? Like all the other sports take their sweet time figuring shit out, but you have such a problem taking an extra minute. Like I don't know why they're so upset at that. Like
I think today, especially, and this might differ from you guys, but if you're a neutral watching this game, that's not a pleasant viewing. If you're
I'm a
supporting,
neutral watching this game. I had a great time, bro.
I'm
Like,
I'm
I was
saying
like, oh my
they
god,
they
I'm gonna go
spent
play that
they
way.
spent 30 minutes on decisions, dude. 30 minutes on so many different calls. Like I don't know how that can be fun. And I'm with you that we want the right calls, right? We want the right calls, but I'm saying until they actually get efficient and get faster at making these things, like it's not enjoyable.
I
Like
think that's the next move. I think they need to invest in more technology to make this thing more swift and get the results quickly. Like
okay,
that's the
I have a question as it relates to like performance and efficiency with VAR. What
yeah.
did you two make of the World Cup? Did you feel like those games were slowed down or hindered by VAR?
I don't remember them being hindered.
And
Honestly,
that's
I
the
want a
perfect
better
answer.
answer for that, but I can't recall like
If you can't
VAR.
recall, that means it wasn't hindered, right? If it
Yeah.
caused an inconvenience to your life, you would have remembered, right? And
Yeah,
the point I'm trying to make by saying that is that I think 1 or 2 English refs were at the World Cup, right? It was mostly Italian refs, and I think 1 or 2
Yeah.
from other European nations. These guys execute better than us, and
yeah.
it's unacceptable that we call ourselves the best league in the world. I'm going to echo the words of Arteta and the statement Arsenal released, right? We call ourselves the best league in the world. We objectively make the most money in the world of football. Why do we have, I don't want to call them incompetent, or I don't want to call them cheaters, because I don't think they're smart enough to scheme like that. They are just
Hmm.
inefficient at what they do. And that, in any job, you could be a cashier at McDonald's. That's not okay, bro. Like, the minimum expectation is you perform, right? And it's our personnel, it's our FA that's holding us back. And to me, that's not okay. Today, I think the most contentious decisions in the game today were that first Udogi yellow. I think they got that one wrong, but I'm okay with, hey, there's an air of subjectivity to that. Fine, we'll let that go. Um, the other one that was a little bit weird was that entire sequence that led to that penalty. Faris, you're far more invested. I want to hear your thoughts as a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, I mentioned sort of earlier with the refereeing and just it took a lot of time. They were very meticulous about it, but still, you still see things that could go either way. And that's where it just comes down to these refs saying, like, I think Nibs mentioned this, off the podcast about what are the rules? Are they subjective? What are they actually looking to? Because I've seen that Udogi tackle be a red card. I think, I've seen Malo Gusto go up and
Look,
get 3 game suspension.
Curtis
Go ahead.
Jones, if you have studs up, especially if you have 2
Yeah.
studs up, right? It's probably not ending well for you, right? But he gets away with it even after they look. And I think that's what creates certain uncertainty in people, because before Prevar, right, you would see
Mm,
inconsistency and something like that, and you just be like, oh, the ref didn't see it. Here you have proof of these guys looking at multiple replays of the exact same thing you saw, and they're like, nope. So then you as a fan begin to wonder, what is the rule? And that's where the
yeah.
trouble begins, because
And
everyone
even
starts,
today, there was a moment where like Romero kicks out at, I think, is it Thiago Silva or
yeah,
Colwill, And that was also in the lead up to Sterling's handball goal. So they just completely like ignored that. I guess like the double jeopardy or whatever. Like they didn't even like, or no, they did it. They did talk about it, and they said it didn't meet the requirements of dangerous or whatever.
Right.
And then you question like, where's again consistency? It's kind of the same thing.
And this is where I'll shoot Spurs fans some bail. I've been seeing all over Twitter about like how, Romero should have been sent off earlier. By the letter of the law, Romero for kicking out should have been sent off. But if you look at the replay, it's like barely even a love tap, right? Like it's like, hey, like,
but it is against the run. It's like
I
nothing
agree
to do
with
with play.
You. I agree with you totally. But that's where I'm kind of being a hypocrite, where I'm like, hey, like a degree of subjectivity sometimes is required, right? Like, for example, like if two players, let's do the head-to-head thing, right? When they get mad at each other, and a player like touches his neck with like two fingers, by the letter of the law, he should be sent off. But as people watching,
but you wouldn't want that. You would not want that.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's what the first Romero incident was like. But here's another thing you'll say, right? I support the club that employed Granit Xhaka for the longest, right? And when he played for us, it was openly admitted that a player's history and a player's record and a player's demeanor plays a factor in how they're reffed. If that's the case, Romero should have been sent off. That's one of the dirtiest players in the league kicking out. He's gonna.
That is true, but I have seen a statistic where Romero's actually been sent off more than Xhaka now. I don't know if that's accurate.
He has.
So that's your point. Reputation is building for him. It didn't work today in the first instance, but they got him off.
Yeah.
The second tackle, I just want to throw out that was reckless. Honestly, that was like it was high. Bro, it was dangerous. I don't know.
Let's have a serious conversation. I'm sure some people are gonna watch this video and be like, "No, but he got the ball." Yeah. I implore you, if you're going to have strong takes on refereeing decisions, I'm not asking you to read the terms and conditions rule book the Premier League posts. Just like Google Premier League rules before you have a take, because just hitting the ball on the way to slaughtering someone's shin is not okay. Like he winds up, bro. Like no clearance is that serious. And if it was, you would have cleared the ball, right? Like. And that's his countryman, bro. I think Romero completely lost his head and deservedly was sent off. And now they're going to be without him for 3 games because it was straight red. I think those 3 games are Wolves, City, and Villa. And they'll also be without Van de Ven. So that's their center back pairing. Maybe without Madison. Who knows? They just got Bentancur back, so maybe that offsets that. But the next few weeks for Spurs are looking very, very tough. Tell me about how the next few weeks for Chelsea are looking. Is this you guys turning the corner?
One quick thing on Spurs. I think I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for the next few games. I want to see if it's a more of an Ange system or it's just the players he has at his disposal. It would be like, because I thought like some of his substitutes were quite good. Like we mentioned Højbjerg. I thought he was fine. I thought he did a good job. So we'll see. I think, against Wolves, if they play the same high line with those guys from the start, 11 men, maybe they do all right. But on Chelsea, I think I can just sum it up with this. Like, I do not know where we stand. And the best way I can back up that is when we were 2-1 up towards the end of this game, 9 men, seeing this out, there were 4 fouls. 3 of them were yellows. There was a Gusto yellow card that led to a corner that they almost scored on. There's a Mudryk yellow card. There's a Ugochukwu yellow card that led to a free kick that they almost scored on. There's a Palmer foul that led to a chance that they almost scored on. That is just pure immaturity, like inexperience, no discipline, whatever you want to call it. And that is why we go into games and I do not know what to expect anymore. It's not even a feeling of we're going to play better against this side. We can't break down this side. It's this like closing these games out. Like we just don't have it. There's no leaders. There's no experience. And I don't know if Pochettino has to like sit these guys down and be like, look, we need better in-game management. We need to be able to see these games out, recycle the ball. There should be never, ever a chance where you're down to 9 men and you're almost score 4 times, dude. That was so bizarre to me. I was so upset. I couldn't even celebrate the Jackson goals. I was like, how are we like letting this happen?
Look,
I don't know if you guys
to play Angel's advocate. In your last 3 games, you've taken 4 points off the top 3. So, like it can be all doom and gloom,
No, I'm
but
still there that we are better against better sides. I don't know
right.
if better like today it's so like skewed my whole opinion on
Today
that
doesn't count
theory.
as a football game, bro. Today was a myth. Today was a story.
But I'm gonna stick with it. I don't know where we stand. It's that's all I can give you guys, man.
But yo, I just want to make one more point. Actually, I forgot to make this on Spurs.
Mm,
We look, I don't want to call us like fortune tellers, but we've been telling everybody this Spurs crumble is coming, and it's here, I think, because the point we always emphasize is that Spurs are a starting 11 team. They don't have depth, they don't
yeah,
have a bench, they don't
yeah,
have
that is
second
true.
options, and potentially three, guaranteed two of their starting 11 and an important two in their back line are
Mm,
out now, right? And now we have to see how Ange deals with squad rotation. And to your point, we see if this system is the answer or the starting 11. So this is a space to watch. We will come back for sure. I watch Spurs with a very intent eye. But look, we spoke on refereeing decisions. I think this is a perfect segue
yes, sir.
to to you know the protagonist of the Premier League,
Oh my God.
Arsenal, who lost to VAR this past weekend
Nope.
in the city of Newcastle, 1-0. And the club released a statement after the game, which I have never seen us do. And I'm so, so, so glad we did it. We posted the Arteta interviews on our TikTok channel. He looked seething with rage and anger, kind of like I was. I hope he, like me, is feeling better after the Spurs result today, but it doesn't take away from the fact that daylight robbery was committed in front of millions of people this past weekend. And I want to talk about it with Nibs, of course. I know we share the same view, but Faris, I know you slightly disagree with us. We were supposed to have Aziz on who would have very
Yeah.
much disagreed with us. That's something we're going to miss out on today, but take it away, King. Tell me what you think and why I'm wrong.
I don't know if it's pure disagreeing. I think the point I was trying to make was just look, these, and I know this is gonna just sound like kind of whatever after especially the Chelsea game today, but I'm pretty sure there is at least, one to two, two to three of these bad calls every week in the Premier League. And a lot of games where we don't even watch them, things like this happen. Like I know,
Yeah.
for example, Wolves
Yeah, the
against
Sheffield game.
Newcastle.
No, the Sheffield game. They got that penalty Sheffield had the 90 plus 10th
Yeah.
minute. Dodgy. I agree with you.
And like Wolves the past month have just been getting like absolutely like rinsed with decisions, and nothing's being said. Like no, there's no statements coming out. There's no like real support for that coming out. And I guess my thing was just that like these big clubs have so much power with this that they can release these statements for themselves, to be like, and sure, it's for the betterment of the league. But when I read that statement and I read Arteta saying, I've been in this league for 20 years, it's an absolute disgrace. Like I'm sure Arteta has seen decisions go his way and go against him that like he could say, oh, that was pretty bad. Probably should have done this way, gone that way. Like this one, out of all the calamity in it, yes, there was like three things they could have checked for. At the end of the day, it was still just a bad mistake. So do you think this new way is gonna be like every mistake that comes, are we gonna just do the statement, the apology, PGMOL, Nibs, thoughts?
Nibs, do you mind if I just respond to Forrest real quick?
So
Okay.
thank you.
So here, so Forrest, you raised a couple good points, right? You said
Mm,
how smaller clubs are, robbed the same exact way, don't have a voice. You raised that, I won't even lie, we've benefited from referee mistakes in the past. I can think of the Liverpool game last year, right? That Gabriel handball. Probably should have been given handball if VAR was employed correctly, right? We've benefited. I won't lie to you, right? And I definitely haven't been as vocal when we've benefited, right? But at a certain point, bro,
and you're not expected to either, man.
right?
Like
No,
it's your own club, so it's like a different way you view these things.
I agree, but I'm on a different type of timing. Like, dude, I don't think you understand the level of rage I felt in that game. Like, first of all, things were already not going our way. I want
Mm,
to speak as little as possible about specific incidents, but I think just for the viewers to have context, right? You
mhm.
could talk about, I think, like a literal two handfuls of bad calls in that game, but I just want to speak about two, right? It's the Bruno G forearm, you could say, to the back of Jorginho's head. Jorginho is a senior citizen, bro. That's not he could have died, bro. Like straight up, like pulmonary embolism, something, right? Stroke. This guy rammed the back of his head and wasn't given so much as a yellow card. And hold that, right? This same guy, Bruno G, is such an influence to Newcastle's team. Forget them going down to 10 men in general. That's them losing one of their best players, right? That doesn't happen. We have to continue playing the game. For them to then score, I'm going to be the Arsenal fan that comes out and says this. The ball was in play, right? That was one of the three contentions. The ball, in my opinion, was probably in play. We know we're not idiots, right? Like we know there's like angles, geometry, thing, right? I understand that. The ball could have been in play. I'm not going to argue that point, right? Then let's talk about the offside. I personally think he was behind the player. So I don't think the offside was there. How in God's earth that is not a foul on Gabriel when my guy is literally going like this?
Yeah.
This motion has never not been a foul. It's not a shoulder to shoulder. It's I'm pushing you in the back. You have no chance to contest this. That is a foul. I don't need 3 reasons to disallow a goal. I need 1. And there was a very, very strong one, right? So let's hold those things. I said I don't want to draw emphasis to them. Let's talk about the facts. Since the FA started issuing apologies for referee mistakes, Arsenal have the most. That's not me making that up. That's a fact. 2 of these decisions came last year. The year we were fighting for the title. The year we lost the title by 6 points. 2 decisions. You know what 2 decisions is in 2 separate games? 6 points, right? So we've tried this whole, hey, we're not going to be combative. In every interview after those games, Arteta goes, what's done is done. Issues won't get us 3 points. We have to move on. We've played the nice card, right? And it hasn't gotten any progress. So I think it's perfectly fine for the club to be like, hey, we took the high road. Nothing happened. Let's address what's happening. And you know what I'll say in as a counterpoint also, people are talking about like, oh, this will only get us worse calls. If the FA is the objective body it claims to be, our statement should have no effect on how we're reffed. But we all know that's not the case. We all know we will get screwed in upcoming games because this body is corrupt. And to your last point about smaller clubs not being able to speak up for themselves, it is our responsibility then as the clubs with millions of followers to draw attention to this. I agree with you that I told you already that I haven't stuck up for clubs when it was time, but we have to do that now. And I'm going to look into the camera and say this. If you as a football fan cannot let your tribal biases aside to stand up for what's right, I never, ever, ever want to hear you complain about a call. And when you do complain about a call, I will laugh in your face. I will mock you. I will make your pain be a mock. I promise you. It's you either stand
Nibs,
with
man,
us
get in here. Nibs,
or die,
bro.
bro. I'm so serious.
Nibs, swap in.
I mean, I agree with all the points Neil just made.
Of course, yeah.
Do you disagree, Forrest? If you, I'd be more curious to hear if you disagree.
I don't disagree. I just maybe I'm not understanding because it didn't happen to my club, but I have seen decisions happen against my club that, in the moment, yes, I get the turmoil. Maybe even against Arsenal. I remember there was one year where like there was like a Kovacic red card in the FA Cup final. Do you guys remember that? Where I didn't really think that was like the right call.
I'll tell you that FA Cup we won against you with Anthony Taylor reffing, we won because of him. I'm willing to admit things like that.
I'm not expecting you to admit that. Like, it's just that maybe the level of outrage that is here is just different than maybe we've seen for previous instances where you could say like, oh, that goal shouldn't have been given. Oh, that shouldn't have happened. And I'm not saying that this is wrong or right. I'm just saying like, I don't know if that is the best solution, for a public statement.
What would you say?
I don't have, that's the issue, because even when the Liverpool problem happened against Tottenham with the, onside being offside, et cetera, they say it was a technical error, and then you just live with that, right? Like they didn't really do anything to change. They tried to like now enunciate more what they say and use special words. Yeah, it's like bullshit, and
it's malarkey.
I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it's corrupt. I know.
No, I will absolutely deny that it's corrupt. I don't think they're smart enough to do that. I don't think this league is smart enough to script anything. These guys are just bad at their jobs. I don't think
What
it's
I
a
will
deeper.
say for Arsenal,
Nibs, you're
you
muted.
mentioned I will say that you guys have had the most bizarre chance or decisions go against you. Like
Sure,
there are
bro.
two that come in my mind. One is, that David Luiz red card against Wolves. Do you remember that?
Yeah, bro.
That and then the Martinelli double jeopardy
Double
where there's
yellow. The Tomiyasu double yellow.
yeah.
He got sent off for breathing the same air as Jordan Ayew. He said you were breathing too close, Brody. Like it.
So even I don't know if you have the most like just decisions in general, but you definitely have the ones where you're like, these are just like, how did this even get to this point? Like it should have been clearly this or clearly that. And I'm with you on that. And honestly, I'm with you on your takes about, this game. I think, that should not have been a goal. I'm right there. I'm just saying I don't have the best answer for what to do when something goes against you, and how to have a statement and how to talk about it in the post match. I know Arteta is definitely in the heat of the moment talking about it, but I don't know if that's the best thing to say,
No, and you're right, and that this course of action we've taken probably will not result in anything because of because no club has jumped in on it with us. You see people like Pep refusing to comment. You see Ange today saying in his post-match interview, we should stop undermining the authority. Ooh, you also he said we should stop undermining the authority of the referees. Brother, there is no decision for you to complain about today. Your game was refed perfectly. If anything, you were given the benefit of the doubt in two occasions. Two of your players played more minutes than they were supposed to. What would you be upset about? Go home, coach, do something else. This is not for you to comment on.
No, let's not be harsh on him. I do feel like Ange's words were more, you could feel they were genuine towards the game. I don't know if you guys feel that.
Brother, absolutely not. Your rivals the day
Yeah.
before release a statement undermining a referee, and the first thought you have after losing 4-1 is, hey, let's not undermine the referee.
Well, he knows that question is coming when there has been like 10 VAR decisions. Tell me what's the better answer for him to also complain? Because he probably agrees that those calls are right.
What a hypocrite too, to take this high road on the on respecting the referees after in the same game Brody got booked for chatting back to the referee. He has a yellow card from today's game for yelling at refs. Yeah. How are you then? This guy is media trained. It's PR. You don't believe these things. Go coach. It's horrible, bro. I get worked up.
If I'm just thinking, like, if Arteta had never made those comments, I think we would be less riled up. We would just move on with our lives like we have been doing it for the last accepted. But I feel like it's I don't know why they're looking down at Arteta. I feel like he has well within the reach to say these comments. Like, I think it's like there has to be somebody that brings these moments up. Like, I feel like now that the eyes are there for referees to make their judgment on, it becomes more like crucial that they make the right judgments. Like, if you're gonna go like Nick brought out a great point in the chat, like the on-field referees delay their judgment because they depend on the VAR situation. And the VAR says the on-field decisions will remain because we don't have a clear view. So it kind of
nobody refed in that situation.
They just call it a day. Like, oh, they said no. They said we said no. Move on with your game. And I feel like it's such a like it is a flawed system at this point. Like, I really feel like either you gotta go balls deep with technology and include it in the football, or you just gotta throw it away.
I agree.
The rules have reached this like gray area where every decision, offsides, handball, like there's a new version of it whenever there's a check. If someone hits the ball here, you don't know. If someone's foot is this way but their arm is that way, it's offsides. Like that's the referees, man. It's not the machine. I don't blame VAR. I blame the system they built within that.
The personnel, bro. And look, and nothing us three say, we can talk all day about this. It's not going to change anything. It will only change when the people that make sure the Premier League get paid, aka all of the fans, have something to say. So if you have a take on this, leave it in the comments wherever you're listening. We'll get back to you. Trust me, there's not that many for us to read, so we're reading all of them as they
I have something I want to ask though, and I don't know if in the right vein, your mental state right now.
Go for it.
But or not even something I want to ask and something I want to state. I didn't feel like Arsenal were gonna like win that game prior to that decision. Give me a second. Give me a 2nd.
Mhm.
I thought you guys looked okay. You know, I thought Newcastle also just looked okay. It felt like a very much feisty 0-0, deservedly probably. And a bigger point I want to say is, do you think in the just like this whole season, do you think Arsenal's level has slightly gone down? Is this a poor form? Because I've been hearing like, oh, you know, this was our worst match so far. You know, this isn't that. And I'm nowhere not saying you guys are like, you know, like regressing or anything, but what do you say to the game itself? Like, let's take out that decision. How did Arsenal play against Newcastle?
I'll take this one. I think we played poorly. I don't think we deserve to win, but I don't think we deserve to lose how we did. Does that make sense?
Agree.
I think our
I'm with you on
emphasis
that.
was on being defensively solid, and when a moment like that happens, it kind of ruins that, right? But I don't think, hey, like we were robbed of 3 points. I didn't see us scoring that game, right? So
would you also put that goal that shouldn't have been a goal? Would you put that as a Raya mistake on the claim?
yeah, I would. He should be claiming that cross, but like I told we have a group chat where we talk about these things. I told everyone I'm not going to criticize a single player. To be honest, White should have closed down the cross. Raya should have claimed the cross. Gabriel, had he not been shoved to the ground, should have dealt with it, you know? But I'm not going to blame any single one of those players because that event as a whole should not have happened, right?
Yeah.
So, but I do want to talk to the performance and us in general. This year, we have been worse than we were at the start of last year. But I also want to point out a few things, right? Last year, like we talked about, you know, like Spurs being a starting 11 team. Last year, we had a really strong starting 11. At the end, we broke down because we didn't have adequate depth. But the fortune we had last year at the beginning was that our starting 11 was healthy in our first 10 games, right? We were able to play the system Arteta worked on all preseason, carry on our momentum, and we only became injury ridden in that December, January period, right?
Right.
This season, Jesus has been out for over a month. Martinelli the same. Partey's played like 4 games, right? These 3 players. Bukayo Saka has been injured, right? Martin Odegaard is currently carrying an injury, right? These are huge players for us. The names I mentioned, they're not bench players or fringe players. These are not just starters, our most important starters out for extended periods. The fact that we're anywhere near where we are is impressive to me, and I'm willing to be patient because of what I've seen us at full strength.
For me, I feel like this season, whenever I see my team go in, I don't expect to concede a single goal because our defense, I think, is the best in the league. I don't think there's another one that's better than this. Like our defensive, like I just don't feel like a goal should be conceded by our team. And the way that's one of the other reasons I'm really frustrated with the Newcastle game. I feel like I would have been so happy with the 0-0 because we're that defensively strong.
Away from home too, yeah.
Attacking wise, yeah, we're struggling. Arteta's trying new players and new systems. It's gonna take some time, but the fact that we're still in the conversation, I'm appreciative of. And with the injuries that Nee mentioned.
And look, I'll mention too, in the past 4 games or so, Bukayo Saka hasn't looked up to it, right? In the past 4 games or so, Martin Odegaard hasn't looked up to it, or he's not playing, right? Our right-hand side is really crucial to our offense. So when they don't churn like they're supposed to, it's a problem, right? But I have so much faith in Arteta as a coach and in these players that I know for a fact this isn't going to last, and that I don't need all those players I mentioned to be healthy at once. I just need at least half of them. And right now we don't have that, right? So hopefully things will turn out for the best. We have a really interesting table shaping up at the top, right? City in the lead. They had like the perfect weekend.
Can I throw in one last little
jab?
Can we do a Kai Havertz weekly update?
Bro, I thought he was good that game. I thought he was so good that game.
Thoughts on the decision, the VAR, red card potential, blah blah blah.
Look, I as a person with eyes, I'm gonna say that it wasn't a red card just because. Look, I know he leaves the ground with 2 feet in the air, but when he lands and makes contact, both feet are on the ground, and he barely makes contact with 1 foot.
Could you say that was similar to the Udogie decision today?
I agree, and that's why
instance today.
No, the one differentiator I'll make. When Havertz goes up with 2 feet in the air, one gets tucked, right?
Yeah.
Udogi today, both feet go straight. That to me is a differentiator.
Okay.
Also, Havertz makes contact with 1 foot. Udogi barely makes contact with 1 foot. And I also even said that has an air of subjectivity to it. If you don't want to give it a red, I'm okay with that. It should be a red, but I don't. If you don't want to give it, fine. Same thing with the Havertz tackle. I would feel robbed as an Arsenal fan if he got sent off. But if the ref wanted to go letter of the book, both feet were in the air at one point, and you did kind of hit the player, fine. But I'll include a clip in whatever platform you're watching this on to show you that this contact was so minimal and his foot is tucked. So I don't think it was a red.
Okay.
Yeah, totally
That's
agree. Like as long as I think overall in a like you guys talk about subjectivity, I think the matter the referees need to take into context is intention. If the player, like, you can easily tell intention from the tackle the player makes. If they're going for the ball and the foot barely grazed, it's a little high studs up, one leg is up, you should be able to make a critical thinking judgment. Hey, the player did not mean any harm by this.
But you
Easy,
can't go just off intent though, because sometimes people do things unintentionally that are really bad, and you still have to go.
Really bad, exactly. Like a foot in the chest while looking at the ball. Yeah, those things 100%. But these are easily differentiable, I feel like. And I feel like there has to be a little bit of common sense used when you make the referee calls. And I feel like that was definitely, I don't think it was a red card at all.
Well, no point crying over spilt milk, right? We look ahead.
Covered a lot today, man.
Yeah, City sit top, Spurs still in second with Liverpool and Arsenal right behind them, equal on points and goal difference, I think. Villa lagging right behind. They failed to get points this weekend. It's shaping up real nice. Sheffield at the bottom, who we clowned last week, put 3 points up on the board against a Wolves team. So flowers to them. They're chasing that derby record intently. To end the podcast, I kind of want to do a fun little segment. We're going to make 5-a-side teams, right? But we're going to do it each based on a randomly generated letter. And then we're going to decide whose team is the best. Just to kind of throw you on the spot, Farish, you're going to be up first, right? I'm going to generate your letter, and you're going to have 30 seconds, by the way, to do this. So
the whole team?
Yep.
Are we doing just Premier League or doing
No, we're doing any player all time.
All right, 30 seconds. Holy shit.
So it shouldn't be bad.
One goalie, 2 defenders, 1 midfielder. What do you want?
However you want to. If you
I'll do one goalie, then the rest I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll leave you guys that. And if you get like a letter X or something, I'm not going to hold you to it.
Yeah.
All right. 3. Let me get the letter. Okay. I think that should be easy enough. Reset the timer. Your letter is L.
Oh my god.
L. Okay. Are we doing first names or last names?
Anything.
First, both.
Okay, my striker is Luis Suarez. Yeah, that's a good player. We're gonna put a left wing Luis Diaz.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's do. Yeah, who's a goalkeeper with L? I'll put Lunin on Real Madrid. That's the first.
You got Lehman too.
Oh shoot, we're doing former players too.
Yeah, all time, anybody.
Okay.
30 seconds is up. I'll give you some more time. Go. Another 30. Go.
Luis Suarez, Luis Diaz, Lunin. Oh, I got 2 more. Let's see. L. I don't know why I just thought of this guy Enzo Laffy.
Okay.
21 France player, sure.
Okay.
And then I need a center back, dude. Who's a center back with L? Help me out, dude. Throw some names.
Not a center back. I can give you a defender. Invincible Lauren, right back.
Okay, Lauren. There you go.
Bang.
I didn't know we were doing former players.
Or you could go Lauren Koscielny, center back. I'll give you your pick.
I'll do Koscielny. Why not?
Okay, awesome. All right, so that's your starting 5.
Dude, that was so harder than I thought, dude.
Yeah, dude. This is the ball. You also had Henrik Larsson. You had
I forgot every player.
Letizier. You had a lot of players available. Nibs.
All right, I'm ready.
Letter. Ooh, this is an easy one. 3, 2, 1. Your letter is E.
E.
Is that easy?
Eder Militao for center back.
Damn, I already lost.
Ederson as goalie.
Smart. Safe hands. Well,
Mm,
Come on, bro.
I'm blanking on this.
Come on, Ballon d'Or candidate. Come on, first name.
Eden Hazard on the left.
Yeah, let's go. Ballon Canada, turn me up.
30 seconds up, another 30. Go for it. Two
Uh,
more. Striker, bro. E. FPL most expensive player, bro.
I got Erling Haaland.
Yeah, then one more, whatever you
Uh,
want.
Endrick, 16-year-old.
Yeah, go for it.
Ed Nielsen.
Who?
Ed Nielsen?
Isn't
What?
that the Arsenal center mid?
That's
I thought that was
Danielson.
Nielsen. Yo, this guy just made up a player,
Yeah,
bro.
nah, all right. So we'll give him Endrick as far as said.
Oh, okay.
Now it's my turn. I'm gonna generate a random letter. 3, 2, 1. L. Okay, we already did that one. So 3, 2, 1. B. Bukayo Saka on the right.
Sure, of course.
Who else, bruh? Benjamin.
Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Like,
Oh, Bellingham, center
There
mid.
you go.
Benjamin Pavard in defense. I'm going. Benjamin Sesko, right? Striker. That's his
That's
first name.
great. Yeah, that's good.
Left mid.
Italian with a rat tail, legend.
I don't know. Bernadeschi. And then goalkeeper, I'm going Biglia. Oh,
Oh
Buffon.
wow.
Buffon.
No, too late, too late.
No,
Big
I'm
win.
taking I took him. I took him.
It's big
Uh,
win, dude.
I don't know. I kind of made up an Italian name and was praying he was a keeper at some point.
Man,
So
you guys got the
who
nicest letters, dude.
so I got Saka, Bellingham, Pavard, Sesko, and Buffon. Who do you guys have?
I have Suarez, Diaz, Lunin, Lafi, and Koscielny. Oh my god, that's tragic.
And Nibs got Holland, Hazard, Endrick,
Militao.
Militao, and Ederson. To be
Nibs
honest,
wins.
I
Nibs
think
wins.
Nibs wins. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Hazard, that's a dub.
But to be honest, we kind of fed him half of those, so we all win.
Bro, you fed me Lauren Koscielny, bro.
So that was a fun little segment. We're gonna keep doing stuff like that. Keep the brain engaged, learn a thing or two, because Nibs thought Danielson's name was Danielson for some reason. Even though I'm pretty sure you were watching Arsenal when that guy was kicking balls still.
I swear his name was Ed Nielsen. I was just thinking about Brazilian names. For some reason, Ed Nielsen came in.
Yeah, I'm sure. Hey, if we missed anybody with these letters, let us know in the comments because I'm pretty sure we missed a ton.
Yo,
And
my
then
brain froze up, dude.
give us your five-a-sides. We'll see if anyone can come up with something better. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. We got more cool things coming in the coming months. Support us on Spotify, Apple Music, anything you want. Like the video, subscribe, follow, comment. Stay engaged, stay healthy. We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Peace.